Hello everyone, thank you so much for clicking on today's video and welcome to my channel. In today's story, OP reaches out to Reddit because he feels like he's not the a-hole. He is honestly a part of a very messed up family dynamic, and all in all, I feel really sorry for Randy. Luckily, it does end up on a happy note, at least for Randy, so do stay tuned for the update to find out. I do hope that you enjoy the story. If you do, I'd really appreciate it if you could leave a thumbs up. And before we move on to the story, I just wanted to take a second and thank all of my subscribers. Thank you so much, you guys are the bomb. For those that are new here, if you do like my content and would like to support me, I would really appreciate it if you could hit the subscribe button. Anyways, thank you so much for your time and on to the story. Am I the a-hole for telling my wife that it's for the best if her son stays away from our family? I, a 40-year-old male, married my wife Jenna, a 42-year-old female, 8 years ago, and we've been together for 10 years. We have 2 great kids together. When Jenna was 19 years old, she had a son named Randy, who's now 23 years old. Randy's dad was a deadbeat, and since Jenna didn't make much money, Randy didn't have the best of childhood. Jenna tried her best for him, but he was so resentful and didn't seem to care. When Jenna and I started dating, he hated me and acted passive-aggressively. He refused to take part in our wedding, and when our daughter Alexis, who's now 7, was born, he became even more spiteful. We tried various types of therapy, but he refused to accept that there wasn't a problem. When he turned 19, he cursed out his mom during an argument, and we decided that enough was enough. We evicted him and stopped providing financial support to help him understand how much his mom had tried. By all accounts, Randy is doing well. He graduated, earned a degree, and has a high-paying software job. We keep in touch with him and text him, but he barely responds. He only sees Jenna for about an hour every few months, and she's always sad after seeing him. I try to cheer her up, which isn't an issue, but I don't like seeing her sad. We had a big family dinner a week ago, and Jenna invited Randy weeks in advance to give him enough time. However, he didn't show up. Jenna found out from Instagram 2 days later that Randy blew off the dinner because he took his girlfriend to visit his father's family in Australia and proposed to her because she's pregnant. Jenna has been very sad all week, and I've tried everything to cheer her up, but nothing seems to work. She doesn't even seem happy around our children, and I'm worried because she's never been this depressed before. When I tried to talk to her about it, she was non-responsive, and nothing I did made her happy. So I suggested that Randy clearly doesn't care for our family, and it may be for the best if he stays away. Jenna got very angry with me and called me an a-hole for not trying to understand how she felt and for not trying to make her feel better. I want to be clear that everything about Randy is only there to provide clarification regarding why what I said may be the issue between my wife and me. This is not about Randy except for how he relates to the conflict between my wife and me. That said, I don't see what I did wrong in saying that, given how hurt she was. But she's still angry with me. Maybe she's right and I am the a-hole for saying that, so I'm here to learn. The overwhelming verdict was you're the a-hole. One Redditor said, "So you kicked her son out when he was 19 because he swore at his mom once? Then, when he has understandably distanced himself from the family, she's upset, so you tell her that it's best to cut her losses and move on? Yeah, you're the a-hole." To which OP replied, "I did not kick out Randy. That was not a decision that I singularly could have made. We both made it together for the sake of our daughter. And at this point, what else am I supposed to say? He flaked on a family dinner that meant so much to his mother. She wanted him there so badly. And then she has to find out that he got his girlfriend pregnant and is going to marry her from Instagram. He couldn't even be bothered to tell her. What else am I supposed to say?" Another Redditor said, "So, this sounds to me like he was trying to appease her in the moment so that he could avoid the conversation about not wanting to go. He probably wants to let her in, but he has been through a lot of hurt and knows it's safer to keep her at a distance. She hurt him, whether you want to acknowledge it or not. He's trying to heal, and I'd have to make a lot of assumptions on what he's healing on to guess, but I guarantee that one thing is you and your wife evicting him for raising his voice and cursing at her. This was such a non-event to evict someone over, especially your stepson or son. Your wife may want to invest in some therapy if she wants a relationship with her son, his girlfriend, and his child. Also, because this bugs me, specifically the party, you wanted the kid you evicted to come join this party at the house you kicked him out of, while rubbing the family that he has probably struggled to fit in with his whole life in his face. Intentionally or not, that might be how he saw it. Put yourself in your stepson's shoes. Really put yourself in his shoes and try to see how much of a pair of a-holes you two look to him. Best of luck in learning to be less of an a-hole to your stepson. To which OP replied, "Look, if he didn't want to go, he should have just said so. It wouldn't have been hard for him to decline everything we offered to help him. Why was it so hard for him to say no now?" To clarify, we did not evict him for raising his voice and cursing at his mother. I should have expressed that better. They had an argument, and the things that he said to her, the way that he made her cry, and the anger and resentment that he held on to made it clear that he couldn't stay anymore. He absolutely refused to address his issues in therapies. There was nothing left for us to try and show him how much his mom loves him. And look, about the party, I understand that he may have interpreted it that way and sees us as a-holes, but he still could have just told her no. He could have explained why. He could have told her that his girlfriend is pregnant and he's going to marry her. It would have been a tough pill to swallow because she doesn't know his girlfriend well, but it would have been better than finding out from Instagram. Another Redditor said, "I find it highly interesting that you won't elaborate on what the argument was about and what exactly was said. I mean, clearly you're trying to paint Randy in the worst light possible, so I would think that you would want to relate the incident in excruciating detail with every horrible thing that he said. But you don't. Is that because the argument was about you? Her picking you over him? Her not standing up to you over your treatment of him? The do-over family and feeling like an outcast? I can only speculate, but the only reason I can think for your vagueness is because you know the details would actually paint you and your wife in a worse light." To which OP replied, "The argument was a simple matter. He wanted to take 6 courses a semester, not including labs or tutorials in that count. His mother pointed out that it would wreak havoc on his mental health and said that she wouldn't pay the tuition for more than 4 courses a semester. I was perfectly willing to pay for a 5th and even told him that, but I agreed that 6 was too many." He went off on his mother, calling her a bee and every vile name in the book. He implied that she was an actual prostitute, called her diseased, and said other terrible things. I don't like talking about the things that he said. He hasn't apologized for what he said. His mother was looking out for his mental health, and he took that as an opportunity to degrade her. One other Redditor said, "Of course there's more to the story, but I, for one, understand how the Randys in our family can suck the life out of everyone. You tried to help him and appropriately got him into therapy, but it sounds like he never accepted you, or the children you had with his mother. People who feel like you were wrong for evicting him after a run-in with his mother don't understand it for the abuse it is. Having him out of the home is probably best for the other children as well. But it's soul-crushing for your wife. It seems Randy is honoring his father by including his father's family in the proposal occasion and intentionally hurting his mother, who worked hard to take care of him and without any help from his dad. That has to be devastating to her. Honestly, I think Randy saw you always as an intruder, and he's angry with his mother about it. He's probably getting something out of hurting her. Your wife needs a neutral party to help her through this, and there is no way that can be you. I don't think you're the a-hole necessarily, but telling your wife to cut her son from her life may be a little self-serving, even if it's not the worst idea." To which OP replies, "Thank you. I feel like you also understand where I'm coming from with this. It may sound weird, And I accept the overall judgment that I was the a-hole for what I said, but I never wanted anything bad for him. Evicting him was the last option we had. I hope my wife can have a good relationship with him, but if it's one that hurts her too much, then it may not be worth having. I considered posting this on Am I the A-hole, but I'd rather keep it low-key for the few people who have messaged me since I first posted. When Randy came back from Australia, Jenna learned this from an Instagram post. My wife called and begged him to come over when he could, and he came about 2 weeks later. He was clearly uncomfortable when Alexis came to say hi with our baby, so I took them to my cousin's before returning. When I came back, it was clear Randy had been crying, given that he was drinking like a pitcher of water. After that, he gave Jenna an old photo he had in his wallet of her and him when he was around 5, with her holding him in the bed while he slept. He said that he didn't need it anymore, gave her a hug and left the house. I talked to him outside his car before he left, and I apologized for being a tyrant and for a lot of the things that people on my last post had said I did. He just told me that he appreciated the apology, and if I ever did care about him, to keep myself and my kids out of his life. It hurt to hear him say that he doesn't care for them, doesn't see them as siblings, and doesn't ever want to see them again. I told him that I'd respect his wishes and would try to make sure his mom did too. He shook my hand and left. After he left, Jenna told me that when I was gone, he asked what we wanted and assumed that she had called him asking for money and didn't know that it was about him getting married and his fiance's pregnancy. He started crying because she apologized for how everything went down between them and for evicting him and admitting that it was wrong of us. When Jenna asked if he hated her, he told her that because she's his mom, he'll always love her, and if she wants, he'll keep seeing her as little as he does, at least until he moves to Australia. And she'll be invited to his wedding, but only as a guest. She would never meet his child or be a grandma since that was the role that was going to his dad's wife, and he felt uncomfortable with how small the age gap between our baby and his will be. He told her that if she really loved him as much as she said, she'd be happy with that and be happy for him. After that day, it was hard for Jenna, and she did take it out on our kids and especially on me. But she did get better and things got back into a routine, and we became that happy family we were again. Randy's wedding was about 5 months ago, before his wife started showing, and my wife went. I, of course, was not invited. She came back crying because she was pretty much isolated there, didn't talk to anybody except Randy and some of her former in-laws. She hated how much he honored his father's family during his reception speech, to the point where he called his stepmom his true mom and his dad's kids his brother and sister. But I guess it's how he really feels. A little while ago, Randy and his wife had their baby, and he's a beautiful boy. He's actually the chubbiest, most roly-poly baby I've ever seen. The post that they put on Instagram hurt Jenna again, as it praised his wife and talked about how he knows she would be the greatest mother in the world and never let what happened to him happen to their son. Jenna hasn't seen him in person, and she cried more than she ever has when she saw that post. I've honestly never seen her that distraught, and I couldn't leave her side because I was afraid that she'd hurt herself or something. I know that she wants nothing more than to be there for Randy and help with his baby, but since then, it's felt like our kids, especially our baby, doesn't even exist. Randy kept his promise to my wife and met her out for coffee about once or twice a month. She'd always be glowing after their meetings and would tell me all about his life and how happy he was. I'm guessing she thought that they would lead to something more. He and his family will be moving to Australia next month, and I'm posting this now because Jenna met with him yesterday and he made it clear that it would be the last time that he was meeting her unless he came back. He did accept a present from her for the baby, so maybe that's something. I know now that I was in the wrong. It may not be a happy ending for me, but it is for Randy, and since people rightfully cared more about him, that's why I'm posting. Going off of his LinkedIn, he got promoted to the job of software architect at his company, which is big. Think like Microsoft level big. This means his fiancé and his child will be secure. I'm assuming his job is remote too, so he can work while in Australia. And I want everyone to know that I genuinely wish him the best. He might not be our family, and that is my fault, but he has his own now, and I'm certain that he'll do a better job than I did. So guys, what did you think about this? Honestly, I feel like this is a case of OP's side of the story, Randy's side of the story, and the truth. I feel like the truth is somewhere in between, but I definitely feel like we are not getting the whole story from OP. I have a feeling that Randy and his mother went through some really hard times, and Randy really has some old scars that he hasn't been able to process. And honestly, he's a fully grown adult. He doesn't necessarily have to process them and forgive his mother as long as it's not affecting his life currently today. If he's at a point where he's at least processed them to the point that he's okay in the position that he's in now and can love his wife and can love his father's wife, then I really don't think that he needs to be at that position where he forgives OP's wife, at least unless he has to, you know? I am really happy for him, Randy that is. I hope the best for him. I really don't know what to say to OP. I hope that they're able to get therapy and maybe see and dig deeper into why Randy's having the reaction that he's having. That being said, if everything is really exactly like OP described it to be, and Randy's acting this way, then I don't know that I'd really have to put the blame on Randy here. I don't know, I feel like we weren't told the whole story, and I'm just trying to give my opinion based on the facts that we have and the vibes that I'm getting. Anyways, please let me know what you guys think. Do you think that this is it to the story? I would really be interested in hearing Randy's response. Anyways, please let me know what you guys thought in the comments down below. If you did like this, I would really appreciate it if you could leave a thumbs up. And please subscribe if you'd like to hear more stories from Reddit with updates.